I also have Aditya Dikki Singh, who's not so optimistic about bringing an exotic animal like cheetah back home. Why, Aditya? Why so, pessimistic about the whole procedure?
I see Kuno as a... See, Kuno is very similar to Ranthambore. In fact, Kuno, Sherpur, Shivpuri forests are connected to Ranthambore. There's just a river, Chambal, which flows through them. So Kuno is actually a forest habitat very similar to Ranthambore. There are no grasslands. The few grasslands that we do have there are actually abandoned fields. About 24 villages were moved out in the last 15 years from Kuno. And the fields that they used to crop in, they have become grasslands. And essentially, we have to keep cutting the trees and keeping these fields bare to create the grasslands. So I don't feel, one, that we have the space for cheetahs. Like, cheetahs need incredibly huge amount of space. We don't have grasslands that big as yet. So if we have to focus on grasslands, then, we picked up a place which is not a grassland. We've also picked up a place where cheetahs have never traditionally been there. Kuno never had cheetahs or anything similar ever. So I don't see it as a great idea. Besides the resources that we are spending to get a subspecies of cheetah which never ever existed in India, these kind of resources would be better spent in actually preserved lands that are there.
All right, but Aditya, if you say, okay, you're saying the habitat is not something which is attuned to possibly a cheetah habitation, but having said that, the fact that cheetahs will be reintroduced into the habitat, do you see that as adding to the biodiversity of the area?
They won't be reintroduced, they would be introduced. There's a big difference. Reintroduced assumes that the cheetahs existed in that habitat. Cheetahs never existed in this habitat, so we're actually introducing a new predator. I don't know what the impact on biodiversity will be. It's generally not a good idea to introduce new predators.
Okay, let me cut across, and we're also going to get in a reporter right now from Namibia in just about a minute. But let me once again introduce Anish Andheria back into this conversation. Mr. Andheria, the fact is, what do you have to say with all the apprehensions that have been raised by not one but many other wildlife conservationists?
So as I told you, Kuno is the first step. The idea is, now that the cheetah is here, and definitely the kind of grassland habitats that the cheetahs are used to in Namibia, Kuno is not that. There are woodlands there. It is a mosaic of grassland, and none of those grasslands are extensive. There may be 10-15 square kilometers at best, the largest ones. So that's definitely true. However, now that the animal is here, our forest department gets familiarized with the species, and we earmark other locations which are more suited to the running game of the cheetah, is where we have to move. So as I said, we need about 4 or 5 different populations and habitats which are at least 2,000 square kilometers of the kind of habitat that they are used to in most of Africa. However, my friend Aditya spoke about the habitat, but there are some parts in South Africa which are very woodland type of habitats, and cheetahs are found there even in mountainous regions. Obviously, they don't spend too much time up on the mountains, but they have a mosaic of such habitats as well. But again, these are cheetahs coming from Namibia. So we'll all have to, it is a conjecture, we need to understand that this is the first time it is happening. We have to be patient, as I said, and there may be some losses, we will falter in some place or the other. But once the decision is taken of bringing this animal in, I think we must stick on to it. Plus, if you look at the funding, today the forest department and for tigers as well, there is a good amount of funding. There are other species, but bringing in an iconic species like a cheetah, what it does, it will bring back the focus on grasslands. And I am quite sure that in the 10 years time, we would definitely have some very, very good quality grassland habitat which will be on the recovery. It is currently degraded, or there are a lot of other issues there, but we will open up certain areas for grasslands, and that, like we use the tiger to get the woodlands back. There are so many good tiger reserves which in 1970s had no tigers there, and today you have tigers spilling out of those landscapes. So the similar thing can happen with the cheetah. It is up to the government to see how they make that happen, and definitely it cannot be happen. It cannot happen by translocating people. So it is quite a delicate operation, which means that the people have to be taken in confidence. The good thing is that cheetahs really don't ever, rarely ever attack human beings. So their conflict is only with farm animals, and so they are easy to stay with, but there will be conflict, and people's confidence in the entire process and the money from tourism, as long as that goes to the marginalized people who will be sharing the habitat with cheetah, I think the project will have a lot of